we're coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Monday morning. We've got our Christmas and holiday decorations here in the studio that you can see on CBS Sports Network. We've got fake poinsettias this year, so we don't have to swat bugs out of our faces, but they do look very festive. It looks wonderful in here, so thanks to everybody at CBS Sports Network for putting together a great effort here in designing the studio, which is much more than I could say for the New York Giants last night, who put together a horrendous effort on Monday Night Football. I got to stop picking games. I got to stop betting games. I think prop bets is the only way I'm going to go. That's the only thing I am good at. I sat here, felt good about the Giants. We both thought it was going to be a close game in the fourth quarter. I thought 7.5 they'd be able to cover. I was in on Jackson Dart coming back, the whole deal, and they got whooped. Absolutely, embarrassingly whooped. So, audition. How many times we say yesterday, Boomer? An audition for everybody. This was a failed audition. We got a mukbang today, by the way. We have to do that, I believe, at 8 o'clock today because Fran Tarkenton is coming in at 9 o'clock. So we've got a lot for you on a jam-packed Boomer and Gio. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. And yes, I do love the studio, man. They put the effort into it, the money into it. It looks great. It feels like Christmas in here,
It really
man.
does, yes.
And, given the fact that the Giants gave one away to New England last night as a present, I feel like this is kind of the right field to start this morning's show off. And I have to say, it's not often where I actually laugh during a football game. I'm normally into the game. I'm watching the game. I'm thinking, just like everybody else is, strategy, who's playing well. If Theo Johnson catches the ball in the end zone, maybe it's a little bit of different situation. But Younghoe Koo, who came out yesterday to kick a field goal and stubbed his foot 6 inches behind the ball, and Troy Aikman says, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And you could hear that he was trying to hold back his laughter. And then when they came back, he did laugh. I actually started belly laughing. It was so funny.
Yeah, and his explanation was that the ball was moving, and you see it here, and it's like, Jamie Gillen gets it down in time. I've seen enough of these slow motion kicks to be like, that's not the reason why. Like, maybe it throws off his timing a little bit. Now, I was watching the main broadcast like you, but I did see this morning on social media, you want to have like one 10-second clip of what the Giants season has been like, or what the Giants have been like for the last decade. It's Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Danny DeVito on the Manning cast are all together when this is happening.
Yeah.
And Danny DeVito's got his hands on his head going, oh my God, what is happening? And Peyton Manning saying, I've never seen that in the history of football. I mean, that's what last night was.
I mean, any of us who've ever played in all the games we've watched and all the games we've worked I have to say I've never seen that before. I feel bad for Younghoe Koo. I don't know what the reason for it was. I didn't say anything after the game from him. I'm sure there's something
he said that
out
the
there.
ball was moving. He said
right,
the ball was
I
moving.
I didn't see that. But
it was for like a split second, but Jamie Gillen got it down. Like, I don't know. I mean, if CBS Sports Network has the shot one more time of the slow motion up close, you could see that in the beginning it's just a little slight fumbling with the ball. It'll be right after this. You'll see the slow motion, but he gets it down in plenty of time. Like, that should have never, like, all right, so it's moving a little bit here, but he's got it down.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell what is that? Kick the thing.
I mean, but, the other thing, too, is that you got to think about Jamie Gillen's game last night.
Jesus.
So he's hitting line drives. He's trying to make tackles. He's getting sacked. For a punter last night, his game was insane. And, so these guys sit off to the side all week long. They go in, they have lunch together, they sit, they talk together. And last night was an abject, just absolute disaster for the kicking duo of the New York Giants. And it started with the first kickoff and then the punt return. And then, it's basically when those things happen in games and your players are dropping passes that, they're not easy catches, but, top-end players, and maybe Theo Johnson will become a top-end player, usually make those catches, and, that keeps you in the game. So when special teams turns into an absolute disaster like this, you're going to get blown out, and that's exactly what happened. And so if Giant fans take solace because you're in a very similar situation to what the Patriots were the previous 2 years, especially last year. Because last year, they had a one-year coach. They're going to fire him. They had a superstar quarterback that was going to be good. He just needed to be taught how to play the position in the NFL. Takes too many sacks for my liking, but he got a great offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels to really school him up and learn how to play. And you could see the poise and you could see the accuracy that they were talking about last night during the broadcast from Drake May. So for me, if I was a Giant fan, that would be that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm hoping we have here with Jackson Dart. And, the other thing, too, is you can tell when a team is really well coached. When Jackson Dart takes the hit from Ellis on the sideline, Ellis, hits him clean, hits him legally, and he gets attacked by Theo Johnson and kind of walks away from, the abrupt reaction from Theo Johnson and the Giant offensive line, because I think the Giants were trying to stir up some emotion or whatever. But Ellis kind of walks away and doesn't get flagged. Like he just
Theo Johnson was the only one that got the penalty there.
Yeah, so that to me that's the coach really having a handle on his players. The players are not going to do something stupid.
Yeah, so I listened to a ton of reaction with this, and to me it is a clean hit. He's going for the first down marker, and he's in bounds, and this is what's going to happen. But I did hear McMonagle driving in talking about how there's so many times that a guy doesn't launch himself like that when a quarterback is near the sideline, and usually it's just a push out of bounds or whatever it may be. But you want to talk about good coaching or coaching up. I can guarantee you that Mike Vrabel and the other coaches were like, this kid has shown that he exposes himself, and if you get an opportunity legally to hit the crap out of him, do it. I mean, that's what this was. This wasn't like, he's always trying to get that extra yard. He's always trying to fight at the end of these runs. So that's what the coaching was, is don't let him do it. And by the way, nobody's talking about how close he was to the first down marker. That's why Christian Ellis hit him the way that he did. He didn't want him to get the first down.
Well, the other thing, too, is that both Joe and Troy were talking about it last night, is that the NFL sent out a memorandum about quarterbacks duping the defense and getting an extra couple yards.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is known to do this. Josh Allen had been known to do this. And the NFL sent out a memorandum to all teams, making sure that their quarterbacks knew that they can't protect you on the sideline if you're going to be going for that extra yard. We just can't do it. We're not going to throw the flags anymore because it's not fair to the defense. So if you are in the field of play, you are going to get hit. We are not going to throw the flags anymore. And I thought they explained that really well last night when it came to the NFL putting out the memorandum, so all 32 teams understood that every single quarterback is going to be treated the same way on the sidelines if they stay in bounds. Now, if there's 1 foot out of bounds, maybe a little bit of a different story. But we know, like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that hit would have been flagged. But no longer.
But he's still in bounds, though.
I know, but no longer is that they used to throw the hits because they really, really wanted to impact the defensive players to let these quarterbacks go out of bounds naturally without taking a hit like this. But since guys were abusing that and defensive players were pulling off of the quarterbacks, they said we're not going to call these penalties anymore. If you guys are near the sideline, you better get out of bounds. If you don't get out of bounds and you get hit, we're not throwing the flag anymore. So I thought Troy and Joe did a great job last night, just with a team that is really going nowhere, the Giants, and a team that's ascending to possibly an AFC championship game in the Patriots. But there were a lot of things that were going on in this game last night that were very interesting, even though the score didn't indicate that.
Yeah, so if you're a Giants fan that's mad at Christian Ellis or mad at Jackson Dart or mad at the officials or mad at whoever, be mad at Patrick Mahomes for doing what he did to make these officials put a point of emphasis on those type of plays. All right, there's other things have to get to. Abdul Carter sitting down again, being sat down and penalized all the way into the second quarter. It looks like he missed another team meeting or walk through, whatever it may be. And it's just unbelievable that after the first time where he gets thrown out there for this, embarrassed, has to sit down, has to answer questions about it. He's falling asleep. No, I'm not falling asleep. I was in this red light therapy thing. All of this, you think he learned his lesson. And here he goes again, being late to or missing another one of these team functions, and Mike Kafka sits him down for an entire quarter, and then he's belligerent about it after the game. Abdul Carter doesn't answer any questions respectfully. He goes, S happens. I just answered that question. I'm not telling you what happened, and is demonstrative in the post game. I mean, this guy feels and looks everything that a bust would be, and it's really, really disconcerting. And I'm not saying his career's over, but for what up until this point, I thought that something could be salvaged, and it still may. But to go through what he went through and the embarrassment of the sleeping, to do it again, and then to talk the way he did in the postgame, that's a guy that might never get it, because that embarrassment should straighten you up like that, and it didn't. He repeated his behavior.
It kind of makes you think, like, was this going on when Brian Daboll was the head coach, and is it one of the reasons why Brian Daboll was fired? Like, was there an internal understanding that there was a lack of discipline by players?
I think the answer to that is yes.
I don't know that for a fact, but it makes you think that way, and it makes you think as to why a coach would get fired. And, the way that they were blowing leads. And again, like I was saying the other day, this all goes back to the discipline of football. If you got to be a more disciplined team than the other team. And it's not just game day. It's preparation. It's showing up on time. It's being accountable to your teammates. And, every coach across the country preaches that to their team, whether he's got a star-laden team or whether he's got just a bunch of grinders out there trying to make the best that they possibly can. And by being late to meetings, by sleeping in meetings, by missing treatments or whatever else it may be, because it's significant, because you don't sit a player out for now a quarter if it's not significant. It's a significant thing. And, he can say all he wants, I have to be better. I would be sick and tired of hearing that.
Yeah,
I would say, hey, look, you're going to be in street clothes the next couple of games. If this is like the fifth or sixth or seventh time that this has happened, it's just that nothing really happened under Brian Daboll in terms of bringing it to the forefront, and now we're all talking about it. So again, I go back to what Tiki has always said. He hates rookies. He hates rookies because they just don't understand how to be pros. Not all rookies, but just some don't understand how to be pros. Don't understand what it takes to win in this league. What the commitment not only to your physical well-being, but also your mental understanding of what's happening on the field. And that's part of the things it sounds like he's missing.
Yeah, so that is a big part of what Joe Schoen has brought here. And when you look around, I understand you can't prevent the injuries, but if you're someone who was evaluating a general manager and you're like, okay, well, one of your first-round picks is hurt, Malik Neighbors. Another one is hurt, Kayvon Thibodeau. You've got one guy who never gets on the field, and Evan Neal. He's a complete disaster. You got a guy in Deonte Banks who completely sucks, and you got this guy here who can't get his act together. I mean, I hate to say this, but if the game's tight last night and they're playing well, and they lose 33-27 or something like that, and they're scoring, which they have been doing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can live with that, and I can kind of say, there are remnants of really good players here somewhere. But now, after watching this and this whole Abdul Carter thing and just the list that you just put out there, I mean, I don't know how they can keep the same general manager with what the assets are going to be when they're drafting this year.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, like, that to me, again, it's just it's an abject, it's an embarrassment to the organization that the number 3 overall pick is yet again penalized before the game even starts because of something he did internally. Now they're claiming it, it's obviously some sort of, team rule breakdown or whatever. I mean, it's not hard. You have all these guys that are all following the same rules. Why is it so hard for somebody who's expected to be so good and thought of himself as being like the next LT, or wanting Phil Simms' jersey because he wanted to be 11 like Micah Parsons? Now, it takes a while for defensive linemen to figure it out, okay? So I will give him another year here. I'll give him another year to mature. I'll give him another year to give, to put muscle on. And, maybe next year he explodes here under a different coaching staff. And I can see the interviews are going to be like, what are you going to do when you have the third overall pick in the draft who's supposed to be great, thinks he's great? What are you going to do to get the best out of him, and how are you going to hold him accountable would be like the first question that I would ask of potential head coaching hires here.
Yeah, and we always talk about it's not just watching the film when it comes to the draft. It's interviewing these guys, and the phrase these days, the en vogue phrase is, do these guys love ball? How much does he love ball? How much is he dedicated to it? Yeah. So that's a big part of it. So we could sit here and say that, everybody in the world would watch Abdul Carter at Penn State and want to draft him in the top 5. And, of course, his name was up there with every one of these teams. But who knows? We're not in those interviews. I don't know what I heard there. I mean, they made a whole big stink about how, Shedeur Sanders was the worst interview in the world. I don't know what Abdul Carter did. So it's either one of those things that they weren't able to see a red flag about this guy caring and showing up to meetings on time, for God's sakes. It's one of the easiest things. I mean, you talk to me about how hard the NFL can be, from a time budgeting standpoint and staying healthy and learning the playbooks. One thing you can do is be on time. That's the easiest freaking thing that you could do, or not miss the meeting or miss your schedule. So it's either that you weren't able to find the red flags of this guy not caring, or when he got in the building, he's got his ass kicked so much he felt like he could do whatever the hell he wanted. Mm-hmm. I mean, ass kissed so much, not kicked. I mean, they felt like he could do whatever the hell he wanted because he was a number 3 overall pick, and he was this, he was that. I'm the next LT, my ass.
These are the attributes of a losing team, though.
Yeah.
You fired 2 coaches. You're going to fire the special teams coach this morning?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Jesus God. I mean, that was a disaster yesterday. But again, it goes lockstep with a losing team, a losing mentality, a losing culture. And then to have your third overall pick, turn out to be what he's turned out to be. One of the reasons, I thought that they picked up the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau is because I felt like they believed that he matured, that he was willing to stop the run and willing to do more. And he actually, that play on the tush push against Philadelphia is another one of those mind-boggling moments that the Giants have had this year that did not go their way.
Yeah.
And it should have went their way.
Sure.
And it could have changed the entire game. It's like on Thanksgiving, you had the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions, okay? Green Bay's got the ball inside the 10-yard line. They have a false start play on 4th down. And you can see that the false start play on 4th down is a false start because the player moves before Matt LaFleur calls timeout. And you could see it on the video.
Yep.
And yet, nobody said anything. They gave Green Bay the timeout. Next play, touchdown, game is completely changed. If there were ever a moment for New York to invoke itself into a game and make sure that they get the call right, that would have been the New York replay assist right there.
Sure.
Hey, the guy moved before the timeout was called. And then the question after the game was, well, was he running down the sideline yelling timeout, timeout? Well, if the referee doesn't hear it, the official doesn't hear it, the side judge doesn't hear it, then he's not. Doesn't matter what he's saying.
Right. The timeout was awarded when he started moving his hands and signaling timeout.
And this came after the false start.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is an annoyance of this replay assist where that, and I'm sure it's not under the rules where you can replay assist it, but if you think about it just in common sense, the common sense is there's the movement, there's the timeout call. The common sense should say the penalty should be awarded or be taken off for the Packers and forget the timeout. But no, they let the game go. And, it's just another instance in which, I think there was a major mistake being made and should be corrected.
All right, we got a lot more Giants to get to from what was a really embarrassing loss for them. They had hung in. They had been one of the more entertaining losing teams we had ever seen. That flipped last night in a big way, a huge ass-kicking up in New England. Jerry joins us with all the lowlights and post-game sound coming up next. Some weather for you right now.